most important product management jobs right now relative to what was important 5 or 6 years ago. And you'll see that LinkedIn's crystal ball is really showing your students that there's so much change right now. Maybe because of the pandemic or the accelerating pace of technology, things are changing fast and your students have to be on top of that. So you can now be on top yourself using that skills report. Check that out. Great questions from James. So LinkedIn skill quizzes, something that was launched during the pandemic in terms of how do you assess whether a candidate actually has those skills we were just talking about. We can definitely speak more there, James. And then Raji's talking about kind of that painful paywall that you all hit when you've done 100 LinkedIn searches a month and you're connecting with alumni. And then all of a sudden LinkedIn says, hey, you're out of business for the rest of the month, Raji, because you've got to buy LinkedIn Premium as a salesperson or a recruiter, even though you're not that. We can definitely show you some ways around that. Great call out, Raji. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you for joining today.
All right. Well, it's so great to have folks here. Jeremy, should we get started or give it another minute or two?
Yeah, let's do that. And I think, we're going to record this, so you'll get a copy of that recording. But obviously, we want to make it as interactive as possible. So keep those questions flowing. And then over to you, Omar.
Fantastic. And hopefully we have designed this such that we will get to some of your questions before you even get a chance to ask them. So can you see my screen?
See, great.
Great. So we are so excited to be with you today and share some of our top insider insights. Insider because we used to work inside LinkedIn and have just put out a book with all the tips and tricks that we think should be any job seeker's Bible and should be in every career services office. But we're biased. So let us tell you a little bit more about that and you can decide whether you agree. All right. So cool. Glad you like that tool, Raji. All right. So we launched this book about a week and a half ago. It's been a labor of love. Jeremy and I conceived of this idea years ago when we were working at LinkedIn, when we helped start the student and new grad college team there, and just always felt like this should exist. We've also worked with tens of thousands of job seekers at this point. And really what has come up for us, and you probably see it every day in your work, is there is just a knowledge gap when it comes to how to make the most of this platform in what really matters, which is finding and getting found for a great job, right? There's a lot of other noise on LinkedIn, and we do think of it as noise. So what we've tried to do in this book and in all of our other platforms, our trainings and our online course, which we'll talk more about later, is to try to cut through the clutter of what really matters when it comes to that thing that matters most. All right, so please do use the chat as we go. So we're just grateful to have you here today, grateful to have had the chance to put this book out in the world and take what we've been doing for about 5 years now with job seekers and students, alumni, mostly, but not entirely at the MBA level, and put this and capture this, codify this into a program that exists online. It exists in webinars and it exists now in this book. And we're just really excited and know that this will help. Hopefully it's someday millions of job seekers. All right, welcome, Jane. All right, so with that, just want to give you a quick 45-second overview of what it's about. Whoops. All right, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, let me play this video. All right. So that's what the book is about, but we're not here to make this a book promotion event. We want to really help you in your job. So let's get back to our content for today. All right. And keep those questions coming and telling us who you are. All right, let me go back to sharing my screen. Apologies. All right. Okay, we saw that. Let's keep going. All right, so we're excited. We're celebrating the launch of this book. We're celebrating having hit our 10,000th student that we've worked with and on Job Seeker. We're also celebrating you guys because we think the work that you do is so important. And congrats on getting to, the end of the semester and graduation as well. So we just want to say that we love career services. Actually, Jeremy and I have both worked inside career centers for our jobs, and we know what hard work it can be to stay on top of everything, to try to balance student-facing stuff, and just think it's, some of the most important, these are some of the most important jobs in the world. So we just want to say we love you. And we're lucky enough that many career centers all over the world, hundreds in fact, love us. So we've been working with a number of them all around the world. This is just some of the schools that we work with. And we'll tell you later how we work with these schools. All right. But first, I want to do a quick poll here so we can understand a little bit more about who's here and how you heard about us. So here we go. If you could indulge us. Have you heard about us prior to this? And have you purchased the book? Just curious. Thank you. This is helping us orient for today. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Looks like we've got a handful of current clients on. We've got kind of sort of maybe, other schools might have mentioned you. Nope, this is the first introduction. And most folks have not yet purchased the book, but that's totally okay. We will convince you by the end of today that you should be doing more with us. So let's meet myself and Jeremy and get to know us a little bit more, because it's relevant for what we're trying to put out in the world and what we've been working with career centers on for years now. So I'm Omar, proud UVA grad. I'm actually based in Charlottesville, Virginia right now. Jeremy, Swarthmore, and UMich. We both have MBAs ourselves, but really we've turned to LinkedIn throughout the course of our career as we've navigated, especially our post-MBA steps. In my case, I have not applied for a single job in the almost 15 years since I finished my MBA. I've been found for those jobs on, surprise, surprise, LinkedIn, because of my optimized presence and network. And those are both key through lines in the content that we provide in the book and in our trainings. And so we've been lucky enough to work at, all of these companies. We actually overlapped at a couple of them, but we really love LinkedIn. And it's where we first joined forces, as I mentioned, having started the student and new grad team. So what we, the reason why we got 6 offers to write a book about this is because we've been inside the belly of the beast and understand something about how job seekers, students, alumni can put their best foot forward and really rise up in the algorithm, because it's not a black box to us. All right, so again, we're celebrating the launch of this book, which we're really excited is a new release. It's been a bestseller, lots of ratings. So this is like just a passion project, and I just want to put the links up if you guys are interested in learning more. But I want to pivot real quick to what we do, having introduced ourselves. And this, we're hedgehogs, and this is actually talked about in the foreword of our book by Lindsay Pollock, if you guys know her, sort of a millennial and Gen Z workplace expert. She talks about how in doling out career advice, you need hedgehogs. You need people who really understand with a level of depth specific parts of that search, and especially the tools that are needed to do that. And that's what we are. We're LinkedIn hedgehogs. We do a lot of other things, as you'll see later. We do trainings on interviewing. We do trainings on telling your story and how you sort of identify what you want to be in the world so that you can then represent it on your profile and elsewhere. But really our niche and what we think we're the best in the world at is LinkedIn. And those aforementioned schools that we're partnering with right now, they outsource basically their LinkedIn training to us. They want to bring in the experts. 99% of them renew year after year. And so that's really us. That's what we offer. And specifically in terms of those offerings, there's like a low level of getting started with us, and there's all the way up the chain. And I will just preface this by saying none of these are like, break the bank type of engagements. We want to get as many schools and students using our content as possible. Jeremy and I both have full-time jobs. This is just a passion project for us. So we'll talk at the end about how you can engage with us, but it's everything from getting bulk discounts on the books, which again, we think every career center and every career staff should have, to our online on-demand course, which scales really well and is available to all your students, staff, even alumni at a kind of ridiculous price point. And then we do these custom live trainings on topics I'll show you at the end. These are hour to hour and a half long webinars. We're doing orientation weeks. We do intensive, job weeks. We do trainings multiple times a year for many of our schools. And then we also can offer coaching with staff or students in a one-to-one context or one-to-few. So I just wanted to set that up so you knew kind of who we are and what we offer. We'll get into some LinkedIn insights shortly, but let's move on to the second poll. Having introduced us, we want to know, who are you? Thank you so much. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What an engaged group. 85% participation, 90%. All right, it looks like we have a nice mix of multiple different degree programs and levels in terms of who you support, and career center staff sizes that sort of run the gamut. All right, really helpful for us. Thank you. All right, so let's jump into 3 big topics we want to just focus on for today. And again, keep those questions coming. I'm going to pass it to Jeremy throughout this to do some demos, and we'll leave time at the end for Q&A if you guys have them. So what we want to share today is basically 3 things. Some strategies, certainly not all of the strategies that we talk about in the book and in our trainings, but a few key strategies to hack both the humans and the robots. Both of these things are super important to getting found and finding and being vetted for your dream job. Secondly, how you can find anyone on LinkedIn, per that earlier question of, do I need premium? Why does LinkedIn think I'm a recruiter and give me these paywalls? And then some advice that we have that you can pass on to your students around how they can focusing on what matters. Again, a big element of the book is what matters and what doesn't when it comes to the job search. And then lastly, we're going to close with how you can work with us. Okay, so that's the agenda for today. All right, so in terms of number 1, hacking the humans and the robots, there are a few key elements that you probably know something about, but just to get really clear on what matters most when it comes to, and this is chapter 4 of the book, by the way, when it comes to the human recruiters, this is all about profile photo and headline, right? These are the 2 areas that they skim when they're looking at their search results in the $10,000 a year recruiter product that they pay to have access to find their needles in the haystack, okay? And great profile photo, we know 13 times more profile views by recruiters. Headline, we talk a lot about in the book. There's ways to optimize that for both the algorithm and for the human. Speaking of the algorithm, what matters most to the algorithm? 2 things, keywords and connections, all right? We all know about keywords, and Jeremy's going to show you some advanced hacks for making sure you have the right ones, but those really are like a huge jolt to making sure that your profile is visible, discoverable, rises up to the top in the algorithm, because just like Google, if you're not on the first couple pages of recruiter results, you don't really exist for the job you want to be found and considered for. 40 times more views by recruiters with the right keywords in the right places. And then connections also really matter, and many people don't realize that, right? LinkedIn search, including recruiter search, is not a meritocracy. The search results are ordered by your connection proximity to the person searching. So that has implications for how you build your network, for example, connecting into recruiters, all right? But a key thing to rise up in the search results and making sure that, and given the behavior we know that recruiters have when they're trying to identify candidates, searching simply for a job title and maybe a location, it's really important that students and job seekers focus their profile. And this is a big myth that we try to bust in the book and in our trainings. There's no such thing as a perfect profile, right? LinkedIn tries to gamify things. There's only a perfect profile for a specific job. Because remember, recruiters are looking for highly focused candidates, especially this is only going to increase as we face an economic downturn that, all of us in tech at least think is coming, right? They're searching for a specific job title. And so those job title, that sort of keyword string and all of the important skills and requirements that go with that have to show up on one's profile in such a way that they'll rise up in those search results. Right. And when recruiters are skimming, they want to see right off the top, okay, this is a project manager. That doesn't mean that your student has to have been a project manager, right? Another myth we try to bust is that the LinkedIn profile should be aspirational. It should be kind of not just reflective of what you've done or what you've studied, but what you want to do next. And so the keywords matter in these three sections in this order of importance, right? That headline that matters most to the algorithm because it's most character limited, and to the humans who are skimming those profiles. And then that summary section, and we talk in the book and in our trainings about a great format for that, which basically involves getting keywords chock full into the end of your about section. And students have an advantage where they can say coursework in, not necessarily skills or expertise in, if they don't feel like they have it, but they can say coursework in and rise up that way. And then experience and your skills. And we can talk about skill assessments as well per the earlier question. But one important element here, especially for students who might not have a lot of work experience, is to be paying attention to that volunteer experience section. That is indexed by the algorithm, and 2/3 of recruiters that we got to survey when we worked at LinkedIn said they value volunteer experience on par with paid full-time work experience. So often, whether it's a class project or a volunteer project or pro bono work, people can get that aspirational keyword and job titles in there if they haven't had them full-time, right? Social media marketing manager for the local American Red Cross, for example. A couple quick other things I want to show you, and then I'll turn over to Jeremy on demoing some of this. LinkedIn now has creator mode, which is kind of a useless feature, but it is useful insofar as students, job seekers can add up to 5 hashtags that show up right at the top of their profile to signal, hey, I know something about these areas, or I'm interested in them, right? I quote, talk about things related to these topics. And that's a great way to get those keywords again, right at the top of your profile underneath your headline. The LinkedIn Alumni tool, hopefully we all know about this, but this is a great way to actually get focused because you can tap the amazing career paths of alumni of your school with whom you already have a shared affiliation by virtue of the fact that you went to the same school. And this is just an amazing tool, not just for career exploration, but for finding specific alumni who can help your students get focused. And Jeremy and I love this thing. I'm sure all of you know about it, but and we're super biased because we got to work on this when we were at LinkedIn. The last hack related to keywords is jobscan.co, which Jeremy is going to show you. So with that, I will pass it on to Jeremy, and I'll be watching questions, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Omar. And thanks again to everyone for joining us today. I would love to demo some of these tools. So it's as we do in our webinars, and we were both former elementary school teachers, as Omar alluded to, we love to make it super interactive. And to sort of give you a taste of how that feels, I would love Anthony or Beverly or Brenda to put your Zoom hand up. And I promise you that this is a really fun Friday activity, definitely not intimidating at all, but I'll walk you through some of these tools to give you a sense of how they work for your students. So who's going to be our brave volunteer?
All
on this
right,
fine
Anthony
Friday?
did it. Anthony, we're allowing you to talk. Hey, Anthony.
Hey there, guys. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for joining, Anthony.
You bet.
And Anthony, remind us, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Cambridge, Mass, Harvard University.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining, Anthony. And who do you coach at Harvard?
So I work mostly with the undergraduate population. Our office serves graduate students as well, but I lead the team that meets predominantly with our undergraduates.
That's awesome. And when you think about sort of what are some of the biggest career exploration snafus that your students run into, what comes to mind?
I think probably one of the biggest things that we encounter is sort of myths around what their peers do, the pathways that their peers take. I think there are certain well-trodden paths that a lot of students tend to pursue or think that a lot of students pursue. And then people tend to have tunnel vision and think that there's not much beyond those well-worn paths that they could pursue.
Yeah, totally. And We all know that whether we teach at the undergrad or the grad level, consulting, finance, tech, and there's a whole other world out there that a lot of students aren't even exposed to. So here's what I would do if I was in your shoes, Anthony, and I'm sure you're probably already doing this already. But Omar and I are so proud of this alumni tool that we worked on that I highly recommend it to every career coach and every student. And if you look up your school's page on LinkedIn, you will see this little alumni tab down below. And this is kind of a gold mine for career exploration because it's literally 500,000 alumni that you can search through to find those digital footsteps to expand your pathways. And so if you say of these, 500,000 Harvard alumni, sure, there are a lot at Google, a lot at Amazon. But if you say, you know what can I do with my poli-sci degree? I don't feel as qualified as my friends in CS. Just clicking that one link will show you that actually tons of folks from Harvard who major in poli-sci go on to work for these fascinating organizations, the State Department. They work for the United Nations. They work for consulting firms in the World Bank. And if you have someone who's interested in any of those areas, all they have to do is click on that firm, scroll down, and now they have all these alumni to choose from to reach out and learn from Martin, from Philip, and from Maria. How does that sound, Anthony?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, and again, it's all about exposure, right? It's funny, when I was teaching kindergarten in Brooklyn, I also was coaching a young man in the South Bronx. And when I asked him, what do you want to do when you grow up? My mentee, Ivan, said, I want to be a criminal forensic scientist. And I was like, you hate science, you hate math. Why do you want to do it? He said, I watched CSI last night. It seemed really good. And in some ways, we all have that career blindness. We don't know what we don't know. And so this shines sunlight into all these potential pathways we didn't even know existed. So that's the first thing. Now, Anthony, when it comes time for your students to take the plunge, go into NGO world or international development or whatever it might be, do they always have a good sense of what's required in those pathways in terms of what recruiters are looking for?
Not always. I mean, I think sometimes they do, but oftentimes they really don't understand the pathways into some of these industries. And so I think they could benefit from learning a little bit more about the skills that might be needed, the experience that might be needed, and the network that you need to build to break into some of these industries.
Absolutely. And so this is where that second hack that Omar alluded to comes in, which is, let's say you've got your standard student sort of resume or LinkedIn profile where it says student at Harvard, student at BYU, I majored in this, I took these classes. And for a recruiter or a recruiter's algorithm, there's just no connection between what you did in school and what you can do on the job. And to help students sort of visualize those hidden links, those hidden bridges, we highly recommend a tool called JobScan that will do the heavy lifting for you. So for example, if you come over here to the JobScan dashboard, what you can do is you can plug in, say, a specific job that you're excited about. So let's say international development, which is obviously something the world needs a lot of right now, given the state of affairs. And we can look at jobs in that space in particular. And one of the things we'll see is that for any of these jobs, there are just all these sort of keywords, things that we need to sort of nail as students. So I'm just looking at this role right here, and I see relationship builder, leveraging networks, commercial, GTM, all this stuff. If you want to make sure that your students are nailing this, you can actually simulate the LinkedIn algorithm or the applicant tracking system algorithm by pasting in the job description and then pasting in the students' profiles to run a quick comparison. And when you go ahead and click that scan button, you're going to get this moment of truth where a student who was previously in the dark about what was required in the dream industry now has total visibility to, I needed to talk about my experience consulting with nonprofits on a pro bono basis. I need to talk about that club where I led marketing or the coaching that I did with high school students in Cambridge, because those are the keywords that are going to unlock that opportunity for me and blaze a trail in that path. How does that sound, Anthony?
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool.
Any questions about either of those tools?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, awesome. Well, if you've got questions, feel free to share those in the chat. But again, just reaching out to alumni on LinkedIn doesn't cost a cent. JobScan, you can run 2 free searches a month without paying them a cent. So whether you're an undergrad, whether you're an MBA, students have access to these tools, as do you. And I highly recommend taking advantage of them. Thanks for being an awesome volunteer today, Anthony.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, back to you, Omar.
Great. Thanks, Anthony. And just a couple quick things on this. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time today on networking, which is an entire chapter in the book, but there's a whole art to how you actually connect with those people who can inform your career path and help you get focused, right? As Jeremy's showing you, the best part about this tool is that you can actually see those people who meet your search criteria, and then you can get straight from the horse's mouth. What does it mean to be a head of design at Logitech for creators? What does it mean to have gone into that field? And you do that by always adding a personal note that has 3 elements, right? Lead with your shared affiliation, in this case, a school, but it could also be a shared connection. It could be a nonprofit interest, right? But you're giving them a reason to read this message. Secondly, flattery, right? There is no level of flattery that is usually too much for people. They've put this stuff out there in public. Don't talk about yourself, talk about them. I'm so excited to pick your brain and about your amazing career path, right? You'll have time to talk about yourself. And then a specific call to action beyond just a connection request. Ask for 20 minutes for coffee or a Zoom chat next week. Next week's always better than this week. But you want to make sure that you leave that, you don't just leave this at a mere connection request, because part of the goal here is not just to learn from the horse's mouth, but ultimately turn these people into advocates for you down the road, right? So this is a key part of what we talk about in our trainings. It's not just about sort of the technology itself, it's how you use it to get inroads. And then the second thing I just want to highlight that Jeremy mentioned is the things that we showed you in terms of the keyword matching. That's really critical for being found and rising up in LinkedIn search results, but it's also true everywhere. It's right. Any job that students are applying for on job sites or websites are looking for this keyword threshold. And if you don't make it past over that threshold, you're never getting past a robot to an actual human being. So this is ubiquitous now. And so it's so important, no matter how they're applying or getting found. And we obviously encourage students to never apply to a job cold, but in the cases that they do, robots are everywhere now. All right, thanks. All right, so let's keep moving here into part 2 of what we wanted to talk about today, which is some tips for finding anyone. And as I mentioned, this is a whole chapter in the book, chapter 6. This, LinkedIn being the place where networks are built. We talk a lot about breadth and depth in networks. Both of those are equally important. And it's because, as we all know, 80% of jobs are found not by what we know, but who we know. Not just who we know, but who they know, right? Especially who they know. The power of weak ties, those 2nd and 3rd degree connections, are where you get the volume that help you get in the door anywhere. And it's also true that up to 80% of jobs are never even posted, or if they are, the hiring manager already knows basically who they're going to hire. It's an internal candidate, or it's a friend or a former colleague, right? So this is why we like to think of and talk in the book about LinkedIn as the great opportunity democratizer. It's great if you went to Harvard. It's also great if you go to a 2-year program. It's great if you didn't go to college, right? Because you can pull yourself up and build a network that can get you in the door anywhere. And as I mentioned earlier, it will also rise you up in the algorithm in terms of getting found. And we just love this element of LinkedIn, right? We both worked a lot with low-income populations, and it's just so nice that if you can use the tool in these ways that we advise, that you can basically, create opportunity for yourself by virtue of the fact that people find jobs via other people, right? And so that is something that actually you can use to your advantage. And one element of this that's so important is the reason you're not applying cold to any job is because you're trying to get a referral, right? We know that referrals from current employees are the best source of talent. This is an amazing stat, but they are only 7% of job applicants, but 40%, the biggest chunk of who actually gets hired. They are known by companies to perform the best, to stay the longest, and they are like a special class of citizen, right? When it comes to candidates. Obviously, that is true for companies because they pay handsome referral bonuses. Companies don't usually like to throw money away. And by the way, nonprofits that we've worked for have done the same thing. So one of the key tasks for any student or job seeker is to find referrals or to warm up a cold lead into a referral, even if that dream job is not out there at that very moment, especially earlier in their career. They're trying to build their network before they need it, okay? And a couple really great tools for doing this are LinkedIn Advanced People Search, which Jeremy will show you. It's kind of It's kind of that alumni tool on steroids. Also a little hack that we like called Who Viewed My Profile Roulette, which is covered in the advanced hacks, tips and tricks chapter we have in the book, chapter 8. And then another advanced hack called hunter.io. So Jeremy, you want to tell us how to find anyone, some of these tools?
Yeah, let's do it. So again, I'd love another brave volunteer. Hopefully, as you saw with Anthony, and Anthony was amazing, by the way, this is totally a friendly conversation. So all you got to do is raise your Zoom hand, and I'd love to chat with you. We can definitely talk about, maybe a specific student you have in mind, specific pathway. And I see that Kathy's got her hand raised, so I'd love to chat with you, Kathy.
All right, let me take her off mute.
Okay. Hey, how are you guys?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for volunteering.
Thank you.
Where are you calling from, Kathy?
I'm sorry, I got to put my earphone in here. I'm calling from University of Houston downtown.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for dialing in today. And Kathy, give me a sense of maybe a specific career path that your students are really excited about. And I'll show how I would start reaching out to alumni in that space, building up those referrals and taking advantage of some of the tools Omar alluded to.
We have a lot of students that are currently majoring in like data science, and we also have a grad program in data analytics.
Yeah, let's say you want to break into data science, which by all sort of indicators is probably going to be the most important job of the 21st century.
Right.
So if you want to get in, here's what I would do. And this applies to people who are starting their careers, who are changing careers, but especially for those who are like, I just feel totally locked out of this field. Let's show you how to bust down that door. So the first thing is, you can definitely use the alumni tool just for pure browsing purposes. But when you're ready to go pro, use some pro tools on LinkedIn. So here's what I would do. I would start a people search right here at the very top of the screen. I would go to all filters and I would say, show me everybody who went to the University of Houston. And by the way, Kathy, are you at the business school, the undergrad?
No, as a matter of fact, I'm at the University of Houston downtown campus. We're a separate institution.
Love that.
And we serve everybody but business students. So I'm with the Career Center that serves every student but business.
I love that. And so what you can see here is every school is represented on LinkedIn, including not only the overall universities, but also the business schools, as well as other graduate programs. And then once you've chosen your alma mater, go to the title section and plug in whatever you're focused on, in this case, data, the currency of the future. And sure enough, almost 500 UHD folks who've gone down that path, data science, data analytics, data engineering. And so for your students, what I would highly recommend is to reach out to Robert, reach out to Arthur, reach out to Charles, build those connections. The question for you, Kathy, if you reach out to any of these fine folks on LinkedIn, what do you think the chances are that they're going to see your message? Any guesses?
I would hope it would be at least a 75% chance.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that number because you're actually right. In our time at LinkedIn, a full 25% of the entire user base, hundreds of millions of people, got locked out of LinkedIn at least once because the sad truth of the matter is most people just don't use LinkedIn that much unless you're looking for a job. And so maybe they forgot their password. Maybe they hooked up their LinkedIn account to an old work email they no longer have access to. So lots of reasons that your message might not get through. Now, Kathy, what do you think? In that case, does it make sense to buy LinkedIn Premium for your students to plunk down $100 a month to reach out to alumni?
No.
Yeah, right.
Not for our students. No.
You know, your students need every penny, right? Just to get through school. That's why they're going out to all the events for free pizza, like we all remember from our own college days.
Right.
And so I'm going to save your students a ton of wasted expense by saying, hey, why spend a penny on LinkedIn when you can do all this good stuff for free? And then if you want to get in touch with an alum, go over to another site called hunter.io. And again, I'm going to plug this into the chat for you all so you can bookmark it and say, hey, I want to go to work at Google, or I want to be at Ernst & Young. And so if I want to figure out what is the actual email address at that domain, guess what? Hunter's done the heavy lifting for me and has scoured over 1,000 email addresses across the open web. And sure enough, the most common pattern is first name, last name @ey.com. And so while reaching out to Wilbert on LinkedIn is not guaranteed, even with LinkedIn Premium, we know he's checking that email 20 times a day inside EY, and now we know his email address. So a surefire way to get in touch with alums. And then check this out, Kathy. If you were Wilbert and you noticed that someone was checking out your profile, because of course you can do that on LinkedIn,
Right.
what would you do in turn if you noticed that someone had checked you out?
I want to see who it was.
That's right, human
Who
curiosity,
checked
right?
me out. Yes.
So what we have seen a lot of savvy students do during our time at LinkedIn is play this game that we've affectionately titled "Who Viewed My Profile Roulette?" And so what that means is you do exactly what we just talked about. You go to Wilbert's profile, you go to Ed's profile, you check on all these great, Houston alumni, and then you come back to your own private dashboard and you'll discover, dun, 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 all these people are checking us out in turn. And we've had people who have literally reached out saying, hey, Stephanie, Alex, Ethan, I saw that you checked me out. I checked you out. It seems like we have a lot in common. Any chance that I could chat with you and pick your brain about your industry? And that little tiny spark, even if they're not alumni, is often enough to open up a conversation, which leads to a referral, which leads to a job. So Kathy, any questions about these various techniques to bust down those doors?
No, this is great.
Okay, awesome. I'm so glad that your colleague Elisa has been sharing Hunter as well. There's so much free stuff out there. There's literally no reason for students not to get access to the opportunities they deserve. So Omar, back to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And awesome to see that, Elisa. One thing I just want to emphasize on the LinkedIn advanced search, advanced people search that Jeremy showed you is, Kathy, while we understand UH downtown is its own campus, oftentimes students don't realize they're part of a larger network than they think, right? Because actually I used to manage this product of all the school pages on LinkedIn. They need to think expansively about their network, right? Jeremy's adding other campuses that actually probably still have a shared affiliation and sense of pride, right? I went to UC Berkeley Haas for my MBA. When a UC Berkeley undergrad engineer reaches out to me, or even someone in the system, like a UC grad anywhere, I'm more likely to respond because my affinity is for that system, is for the larger institution, not necessarily the sub schools here. So a lot of what we try to tell students is, hey, you might be in the business school, you might be in the data analytics program, but your network is bigger than you think. And oftentimes those career paths of people are so surprising, right? People who've majored in the humanities and go into a data field, for example. So they shouldn't limit their network.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for volunteering. All right, so let's get to our last section for today, and then we'll be able to take questions and give you more information on how you can work with us. We are really just trying to give you a taste of what we're all about at the LinkedIn Guys / the Job Insiders. And the last thing is just to sort of dispel some of what does and doesn't matter on LinkedIn, because there's so much confusion about it, right? Jeremy and I were on like a 50-city radio tour last week, and the question commonly came up, what is LinkedIn, right? Is it social media? Is it a job board? Is it where recruiters, match with candidates? Is it a place to upskill? Is it a place to, like professional blogging platform? Is it the same thing as Forbes and Fortune now? And so there's a lot of confusion, and that is by design. LinkedIn wants you to have lots of reasons to come back and to make their site what we call sticky, right? But again, not all of that is equal when it comes to getting found for and being considered for a great job. And so that's a major focus of what we try to do in our trainings and in our book. And I'll just give you a quick couple of highlights. What comparatively does not matter are things like endorsements, right? Your mother can endorse you for your PowerPoint skills, or your colleague for your Excel skills, right? So it's a weak signal that's not indexed by the algorithm that recruiters don't pay attention to. Secondly, status updates. LinkedIn is not actually, in my mind, social media. It is a professional network with a social layer, right? When Jeremy was showing you those advanced people that came up, as well as jobs, it's really nice to be able to see how you're connected into those jobs, how you're connected into those people, right? And there's some social validation, of course, in the form of things like recommendations that, can be helpful. But it is not first and foremost a social network in the way that we think of other social media. So posting on LinkedIn doesn't matter. Watching your newsfeed doesn't matter unless it's really helpful to you as you learn the lingo and sort of the key trends in specific industries that you want to get into. The third thing is LinkedIn Premium. LinkedIn Premium does not rise you up in the search results, which would actually be valuable, right? So, to the earlier question, you guys should have LinkedIn Premium because chances are if you're doing 100 searches a month, that's probably what you're doing. You're going to hit that paywall. But for students who do that, when they're in active search and connecting mode, they can always trial it for free for 30 days. What comparatively does matter are skills, okay? And Jeremy can show you this in a minute, but you can add skills on your profile, and you should, because those are indexed by the algorithm. Doesn't matter if you're endorsed for them, but you should have them, and they should match the target job description that you want to be found and considered for. Secondly, related to that, skill assessments, which is a fairly new thing on LinkedIn, which Jeremy can show you. There's no downside to adding those. It's a badge on your profile that just shows that you have a specific skill you want people to know. Our recommendation is to really focus that on differentiated skills, right? You don't want to say that you know Microsoft Office because that's sort of table stakes for most jobs. And it shows you've actually paid attention to that section and maybe by omission do not have other skills that may be differentiating. So things like, graphic design, the Adobe suite, programming, et cetera. All right, showing, not just telling. LinkedIn is a place where, you should not be shy about not just saying who you are, but showing that, right? You can attach rich media to different parts of your profile. You can attach class projects. Most importantly, as I've screenshotted here, you can write a long form blog post that shows you have an original thought on something. And then that will be attached to your profile. For students who want to break into new industries or, don't have a whole lot of experience, that's really important to show that you have, show what you can do, show how you think. And then lastly, while LinkedIn Premium doesn't matter, students and career starters often forget that they need to actually engage with recruiter emails. LinkedIn will take steps to actually suppress recruiters' ability to reach out to job seekers if they're not always responding to those things. And so even if it's just to say, no, thanks, not interested, not what I'm looking for, here's what I am looking for. It'd be great to know about those opportunities when they come up. Students need to remember to do that because it's really important. LinkedIn makes most of its revenue serving the needs of recruiters. So just think about it that way. They're always trying to make them, give them what they need. So just say no to LinkedIn Premium. There's also a really great tool that is sort of a skunkworks project for LinkedIn around skills, right? I mentioned skills and skill assessments. Knowing how skills from one job or from a certain area of study apply to other types of jobs and how they can make that skill-based argument as they explore a job transition is something that LinkedIn's try to put some data and science around. So we want to show you that too. All right, so Jeremy, can you show us a little bit of Career Explorer and how to put skills and skill assessments on your profile?
Absolutely. So just to close this out in fine fashion, who's going to be our last volunteer for today? Again, just raise your hand on Zoom. I think Justin has claimed that final spot. So thank you, Justin, as well as all of our volunteers. Hey, Justin.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, great. Especially now that you volunteered. It's always sort of that scary moment. But Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a career director at Brigham Young University. We have a career studio that is run for students, by students.
Wow.
And so a few of them are actually on this call. Our career mentors are taking your tips and probably asking me to buy the
Okay, I love that. And are you working with undergrads, grad students?
Yeah, we mostly work with undergrads. Career Studio is open to all students at the university, but our focus is mostly the undergrad population. I would say the majority of the students we work with are actually seniors.
Cool, that's awesome. All right, well, I'm so glad that you brought your posse with you, Justin, because I think this is going to really blow their minds. There's a tool that is so brand new to LinkedIn that it's not even on linkedin.com yet. Instead, as you can see, it's on GitHub, which is a separate Microsoft property. Nevertheless, It's already functional. It's already free. It's already available to everyone using the link that I just shared in the chat. And what Career Explorer will do is kind of solve the skill problem that Omar was talking about, where so many students, especially those just starting their career, don't have a sense that the things they've been doing all along are actually the things that they need to go farther in their career. So the example they're showing you here is even a student who's only been a waiter or a waitress at this point in their career may have all these time management and teamwork skills that help them get into store management or operations. And it will build that connection sort of strength so the students can see that Venn diagram. They can see the overlap that'll take them from where they are today to where they want to go in the future. So Justin, let's do this. Let's imagine you've got some folks who want to stay in the SLC area or maybe Provo. What is an example of a job that students might come to you with at the senior year stage of their careers?
Especially useful for GitHub. Let's go with one of our engineering. So either mechanical or electrical.
So they've actually done some internships in that space. Is that right?
Yep.
That's beautiful. Okay, even better. And so if they've already been out there in the working world, especially in the professional space, what LinkedIn will give them credit for right away is, hey, you've been building up all these skills in CAD, in manufacturing and MATLAB, basically all the lingo that may feel really unfamiliar to us, but is so critical to their space. And then what it will do is it'll say, okay, let's give you a sense of your path. And this will be no surprise to your students, but sure enough, they can go into mechanical design, project management, that kind of stuff. However, if they want to discover opportunities off the beaten path, to Anthony's point at the beginning, students don't know what they don't know, you can actually sort by low similarity. What's this job called production engineer or research engineer? And if they want to investigate, they can find people on LinkedIn in that space. So the same exact techniques we were just talking about, where it says, here are people who are actually in that role. And by the way, you can also filter by folks from BYU. So you're really talking to members of the tribe. You get a chance to learn from someone who's been in your shoes. And there you go. But you can also go a couple steps further. Once you understand what the job is, if it seems really exciting, you can actually start to build some of those missing skills right here on LinkedIn Learning. So if you want to figure out what's lean manufacturing, how do I get that skill? Of course, there's a class for that on LinkedIn Learning that students can learn from. And Justin, do you have access to LinkedIn Learning on your campus?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So again, it's not going to cost students anything. It's not going to take up hours and hours of time. An hour here, 4 minutes there, 4 minutes there, and they're on their way to at least enough knowledge to be dangerous in the interview conversation. And then finally, when they're ready to take the plunge, of course, lots of jobs already on LinkedIn in that exact space. Any questions about any of that, Justin?
No, but you've answered some of the questions we've been trying to wrestle with. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And again, it was so hard before this stuff existed because like my mentee, Ivan, we're only exposed to what we see in TV or what we know from our own families and friends. And now with 800 million career paths being illuminated, your students are choosing from the perfect role for them and the one that their skills lead them to. So thanks for that, Justin. I did want to show the thing that Omar had mentioned as well in terms of skill quizzes. Have your students ever encountered this on LinkedIn or have you seen it, Justin?
No.
So check this out. So as Omar mentioned, the kind of no-brainer table stakes thing that every student must do is once they go to job scan and they figure out the most important skills for their dream job, they've got to get those onto their skill tab until they reach that 50 skill max, because that's the easiest thing for the LinkedIn algorithm to scan. However, LinkedIn recruiters are getting more sophisticated these days where they're saying, yeah, anyone can say they're great at product marketing, but how can you prove it to me? And so at least for the harder skills, the more technical skills, things like PHP, SQL, C++, you can now have your students take quizzes right on LinkedIn where they can show off their scores to recruiters. And yes, in that recruiter tool that Omar alluded to, recruiters can filter not just for skills, but who's best in the world at these skills. How does that sound, Justin?
Perfect. We love badging.
Okay, yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be super scary. Students can take these things up to 2 times. They can even take a practice test. So just let them know it's out there. And when they're feeling really confident, that's the right moment to dive in. I just will call out for all the MBA folks out there, for the folks who work with liberal arts majors like Omar and myself, just know that things like leadership and project management are a little more nebulous in terms of being able to evaluate them. So at this stage, this is really for the folks going into more technical careers with those harder skills. Okay, Justin, thank you for being a rock star volunteer. You have let us close the session in fine fashion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Omar.
Right. Thanks, Justin. And I don't know if you saw my chat that I work for Qualtrics full time. So love the area that you're in. So that was awesome sauce. Remember, LinkedIn 101, get those skills in that match the target job description they're going after. LinkedIn 201, think about skill assessments. All right. So let's wrap with some concrete ways that you can work with us and a bit more information we want to share with you. So remember, I said, these are the things that we do in the world. And there's ways that we can make available books that you can buy in bulk. Lots and lots of schools have been buying hundreds of copies for their career centers, for their staff, for their students. And we have ways to get you pretty good, deep discounts on that. Secondly, we offer an on-demand online course, as we've said, custom live trainings, and then the coaching. So let me just tell you a little bit more. We've talked ad nauseum about the book. You can preview it on Amazon. Actually, I think more people need to be buying the Audible version because it's so cool, the narrator that we got. And a lot of the resources in terms of like the worksheets and cheat sheets and checklists are on our website as well. But that's the book. We're really excited for how it's, what kind of traction it's gotten. So want to obviously mention that. We'll share our contact info at the end if you want to reach out to about those bulk discounts. Let me tell you a little bit more about our on-demand course. This is how we've reached tens of thousands of job seekers. And there have been, what, Jeremy, 1,200, 1,500 reviews of the course, which are all 5-star for the most part. We've also, since we originated this several years ago, been offering a money-back guarantee if you didn't get value from it. And out of the tens of thousands of job seekers who've now taken this, we have had a grand total of two requests for their money back. So we know that this content works. We try to keep it up to date and current as much as possible. And it's just a really great tool for all of your students, alumni, staff, because A, we've made it really affordable, and B, when they sign up, they get lifetime access, right? So you renew every year, but we get they get it forever. And depending on the population you want to roll this out to, it ends up being pennies per student. This is, again, not something we're trying to make money off of, just something we're trying to get out in the world. And this is the most scalable way we can do it in addition to the book. So we go through a 5-step framework within this course, just like we do in the book. And if you go to our website, you can see more about what's actually in the curriculum, right? There's a whole bunch of modules in which we deep dive on certain topics. Positioning, for example, is a really big one, networking. And then we've got all these bonus resources where we're including the latest and greatest ways to hack the process. People don't drop. We've got contact info coming and some more good stuff. Sorry, I totally get it. But we also want to make time for Q&A. And so what's really great about this is they can go at their own pace, right? They can jump into a specific module if they're like, I really want to know more about how to review model profiles and emulate those, or networking, or I want to go straight to the checklist for networking and I want to know what I need to do. They can go straight to that. They can revisit it. It's all go at their own pace. And there's homework built into this and checklists, probably about 5-6 hours total of content. A lot of schools use us this way to say, hey, you've got to go through this course before you even step into our office, right? And they're coming in 10 steps ahead. We also do custom live trainings. And by the way, you can get all of these things from us as bundles. If you buy 2 or more of these, we discount the price significantly. And these live trainings are on a variety of topics that I know Jeremy put the link into the chat on. But you can see one of the schools we work with, Carnegie Mellon, talking about how it was just super customized, and the interactions sort of with the students throughout is really helpful. We by default offer these kinds of webinars. We've been doing them regularly on all of these topics. But what we'll say is, come to us with the topic that you need. There's really nothing that we can't do. We are increasingly even doing things that have maybe some touch points into LinkedIn, but aren't even really about that, right? They're how to tell your story, their interviewing, etc. So these are on our website, and you can pick and choose what makes the most sense for you. A number of schools we work with start with the foundational training, hour and a half. It's a good kickoff to the course itself. And then they'll bring us back a few months later to, or even a few weeks later to do the advanced level training. That tends to work really well. Sometimes we even do them both in one day, which makes us lose our voice. All right. We also have coaching. It's $199 per hour. And again, you can just reach out to us directly to get access to that. All right. Final poll, and then we want to give you our contact info. Just on the menu for our knowledge, which of those is appetizing plural? You can pick as many as you want, and which is most appetizing? Haven't really told you the price points, but trust me, they're all super affordable. Super helpful. Thank you. All right, we're going to end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Jeremy, I'll share this so you can take a look. Yes, we definitely see the most demand for the course and webinar combo, which again, we discount. So makes sense that y'all are interested in that. And we can send you we can send you seats to the course if you want to poke around and get used to it. We can send you recordings of other trainings that we've done for other schools. Don't tell those schools, but a good way to get a sense of what we offer. And today was meant to be a bit of a preview of that as well. All right, so thank you for answering the polls, really helpful. Last thing is any additional questions that you all have. Thanking you for joining our session today and for giving us your time and participation. Want to make sure you know how you can reach us as well for any of these options that you'd like to pursue. There's also a contact form on our website. So with that, we've got probably a few minutes here that we can answer any last minute questions about our program or about LinkedIn.
Maybe we can take some of the questions that came in early on there, Omar.
Sure.
I think one of the things that Raji had asked, and this is so important, is so often when you're a career coach and you're searching on behalf of your students, LinkedIn shows you that paywall that says, hey, we think you're acting like a recruiter or a salesperson. Basically, you're locked out of searches for the rest of the month. Any tips for navigating that kind of challenge?
Trial LinkedIn Premium and use some of the other workarounds that we showed you, like the Alumni tool and other ways, other properties that are not, that don't have that paywall. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, so definitely that. And then also what I've done a couple of times is I've created separate accounts. So you can have other accounts just for searching. So that gives you, another 100, 500 searches a month, whatever the sort of invisible quota is. A lot of times you can even just search on Google, and Google's search engine tends to be better than LinkedIn's. So if you say, hey, show me a product manager from the University of Houston, Google will give you 10 beautiful results right from LinkedIn of the exact people to reach out to. So lots of ways to get to the exact right person without paying LinkedIn.
I like that. Hey, Jeremy, Elisa's asking, well, hey, in your email, it said we get a free copy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share that link. So I'll hook you up with that. And then while I do that, just check before, Omar, were there any other questions?
Yeah, I was scrolling up and I think we got to most of them. There were questions about skills and how to represent that. In terms of getting jobs, we think it's a signal that doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
there was a question.
I was just going to say, I was planning to share this in the email afterwards, but if you are definitely want to get that book shipped out to you ASAP, just fill out the form right there in the chat. Just give us your preferred shipping address and we'll get that out ASAP.
Raji had also asked a question about, why doesn't LinkedIn support career centers more? And I think it was sort of the first part of the question you asked me, but I will just say real quick, Raji, that is why we created this program, right? That was literally our job at LinkedIn. And we don't feel like LinkedIn has sort of kept that focus. So we're trying to fill that gap.
Yeah, I'll just say as business students ourselves, I hate to say it, but LinkedIn got to the point very quickly where its scale and its focus on massive, profitability said, hey, we actually have to focus on recruiters and salespeople and marketers because they're our bread and butter revenue wise, even though our heart may be in serving universities. And so even if LinkedIn is not well equipped and incentivized, we still believe this is the most important thing. Like, more than helping an MBA who's 20 years into their career be super successful already or accelerate that success, we'd rather help someone who's just starting out their career or who's struggling. Because again, to Omar's point, LinkedIn really can be the great democratizer, and you are absolutely at the vanguard of that. You are the ones who are making that happen in the lives of students. So anything we can do to support you, just say the word.
All right, last question in our negative 1 minute here. Doug asked a good question about hunter.io. He showed it to a student. They reached out to someone and asked, how did you find my email? Any suggestions on how to respond?
Yeah, for sure. So I say you just looked on LinkedIn. I was looking for experts in the space from my alma mater, which is also yours. And I noticed that you were doing incredible stuff. And so I admire what you've done. I wanted to learn from you. And I think it's always about tact. And you all know this so well, but it's never, hey, you went to the same school as me, therefore give me a job. Instead, it's, I'm here to learn, and I can learn best learning from someone on the inside. And I think for every alum out there, that's the flattering approach that opens every door. Great question.
Yeah, this stuff is all out on the web now, and people are naive if they don't think it's out there. But awesome. So really, really appreciate the time. I enjoyed this session. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. And at the very least, you're gonna get a book. All right, Doug, follow up with us offline if we didn't totally answer your question. But thanks again, everyone. We wish you the best of luck. We absolutely love and respect what y'all do. And it was a privilege to be here with you today.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Cheers.